Hi there, I care and you matter. I'm Shannon and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about how I use index cards in one way to improve my mental health. Now on my channel I talk a lot about the two different types of index cards that I specifically use. I love to use the Oxford Heavyweight Index cards, and I get these off Amazon. I'll leave a link to them below in case you're curious. I use these cards for project planning or reference notes or anything that I'm going to hold on to or handle or keep for a while. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about one of the ways I use the cheapy old blank index cards from Target. And you can get these, I think you get 100 for like 75 cents. So these, I use the blank ones. They're cheapy, so I don't feel guilty or bad. But again, let's jump into this. And I actually did a video previously on this technique. I call it my pop journaling. I'll leave a link to that video down below as well using notebook paper, or shameless plug, I have a printable available for purchase on Etsy that has the full instructions and as well as a printable that you can use for that. But I also find this technique to be really helpful with index cards, and so helpful in fact that I was, full disclosure, going down a spiral the other day, just completely overwhelmed and stressed. And so I pulled out my trusty cheapy index cards from Target and I went through this process. So I'm going to be really frank and honest and real and authentic and show you exactly how I did this. Now, first of all, to do this process yourself, you just need a stack of index cards and a pen or a pencil or whatever your favorite writing tool is. Again, you could do this with notebook paper, or you can purchase my printable on Etsy that will include the full written instructions as well as a printable to do this. But on this particular day, and sometimes on others, I do this with index cards. So first of all, let me share what the problem was. Our youngest son, Mark, is disabled, has lots of special needs. He will never be able to live independently. He will always need some kind of supervision. That's due to several different special needs that he has. Real quick, he has Grin 2B neurodevelopmental disorder. He has a low IQ intellectual disability. He has long-term and short-term memory loss, which makes, using a stove or an oven very difficult. He has a communication disorder, processing disorder. He often says the opposite of what he means. And he can't handle money. And okay, so you get the idea. The young man will never be able to live alone. And so we're currently trying to figure out, okay, what's the best situation for him as he turns 18 this year? Is it better to move him into an adult family home with 24-hour support? Is it better to allow him to continue to live with us for a while? Hopefully so that we can find an even better situation for him. Anyway, long story short, I've been trying to make these decisions alongside my working and everything else, and my mind was just ready to, well, pop. And so what does POP stand for? POP stands for purge, organize, and process. And the first step, purge, means getting everything out. Get all of your worries, concerns, feelings, thoughts out on paper. Or in my situation, in my example, on index cards. So I'm going to go ahead, again, be real, and share with you the things that I wrote down on my index cards. And you're going to see on some of them, all of them actually, there's a little post-it note hiding because that's the next step. So we're going to start with purge first. So I wrote, I don't know if I can handle him living at home without respite anymore. 15 years without a break is too much. And pardon my handwriting. This was me just writing in the moment, stressed out. Again, putting my frustrations and worries and feelings down on paper. So we're not judging. No judgment, please. Not judging my handwriting here. But this is true. I have been the primary and sometimes sole caregiver for Mark for the last 15 years. And I love him. Yes. Does it take a toll? Absolutely. So that is weighing heavy on my heart. I'm stressed out about housing and care for Mark after he turns 18 years old. So yeah, I'm thinking, okay, if we don't put him somewhere else, I'm going to have to take that on. And after 18, I'm going to have to start doing his taxes. I already shave him. I already take care of a lot of his other personal needs. Do I really want to open and manage a bank account for him? Do I? Oh boy, I'm getting worked up here. So that's where I was going with this one. It's one more thing to do that just adds to an already exhausting list of chores and stressors. I have a life. I manage a household. I have another son. I have a husband. I have personal needs. I have a disability myself, psoriatic arthritis. That takes a toll. So just even thinking about making this decision was just adding a huge amount of stress on my shoulders. Whew, not kidding. And another thing to point out too, that in this process of purging, it's important to not judge yourself. This is not about thinking about or casting judgment or analyzing or thinking critically about these feelings or worries. It's just solely about getting them out of your head and down somewhere else, in this case on index cards. The first step, purge, vomit. I feel like it all falls on me. Now it doesn't. My husband helps out sometimes, but he works full-time. I work part-time. And as the mom, it often does fall on me. For better or for worse, it does. And so it very much feels that way. And I feel the weight of that. And you can see why I would want to keep this private, which is exactly why I'm putting it out on YouTube. But my intention with this would not be to hurt my husband. He does help in the ways and when he can. But that does not detract from the fact that this is how I feel, and it does take a toll. I don't know where to begin or how to look for housing options. This was really weighing on me because at Mark's last DDA, it stands for Department of Developmental Disabilities. I think that's what it stands for. No, Developmental Disabilities Administration, I think it is. Anyway, the office through the state that helps support and facilitate benefits for Mark. I asked, so what are housing options for Mark in the future? Eventually, he would like to move out of our house. He does want some resemblance of independence. And I asked the social worker, and he flat out said it was up to me. And I said, well, are there any resources? And he said, yeah, you could hire someone off of Fiverr. And I did not know if he was joking, but if I'm honest, my eyes teared up. I was like, really? You're kidding me. One more thing. And so it just left me feeling like, whoa, you don't even have like a starting point for me. You don't have a recommended list. You don't. The World Wide Web, the internet is a big, broad space. And I don't like cold calling. I was looking for some help and didn't get it. So that left me feeling like the rug got pulled out from underneath me. So that didn't feel great. I feel pressured to do it quickly and make a decision by the state in Mark's school. Yeah. The social worker wanted to know that day, it was like a week or two before I did these cards, how long we were willing to care for Mark. And I was like, whoa. I don't know. I have to think about this. I have to think about all the options. And then we have Mark's school wanting us to sign him up for this ETP, it's called, and I think it stands for Employment Training Program. Anyway, because of Mark's special needs and developmental delays, he doesn't necessarily graduate at the end of 12th grade. He ages out of the traditional school setting and goes to I guess you'd call it a bridge program where they teach him life skills and job training. But he can't necessarily take part in that unless he's still in the jurisdiction of the school district or living with us, obviously, at our current address. So I'm feeling pressure. I'm feeling pressure because Mark's turning 18. I'm feeling pressure from the state. They want to know, how long are you going to let him live here? How long are you going to be his caregiver? And I'm feeling pressure from the school. Hey, we need to know, do we need to sign him up for this program or not? So, I feel like I don't have time to find or search for housing options. Yeah. Not only do I not know where to start, I work part-time for an organization. I have my own goals, dreams, and aspirations. I have my own disability. I'm managing a household. And you know what? maybe sometime in there I'd like to do something for myself now and then. Self-care is important. So I feel like my time is already stretched woefully thin. I have nothing else to give. And next, I don't know what the right decision is. Talk about heavy. I honestly don't. I don't know. We have an old neighbor who had 2 disabled children, and she allowed them to live with her and her husband until they were fully grown. And now that she and her husband are pushing 80, she said she wishes she had made the transition for her sons sooner, because she said, 1, it's easier for them when they're younger to transition them. 2, it's better for them to be around peers so they could develop relationships. And 3, her and her husband are aging physically and have their own needs and can't necessarily care for their sons the way they did when they were younger. So, I mean, there's a whole heap of things there to unpack. So these cards are what I filled out for my purge part of the process, of the POP process. I purged all my thoughts, all my fears, all my feelings, everything that was, jumping around inside my head that I didn't necessarily want to share with anyone else, except for you guys. But that's what I like about this process. It can be done privately. And when you know that you can keep this to yourself 100% private, then you can be 100% raw, authentic, and real. And unless we're truly authentic and honest with ourselves, practicing radical honesty, and we can do that when we don't judge, we don't think, we don't critically think about what we're writing down. No hesitation, just write it down. I can't tell you how much better you feel just by doing the single part of the process. It takes off a huge weight. I've heard it said once that if you're not sharing it, you're carrying it, and that gets heavy. Well, I wouldn't necessarily want to share all of this with somebody else. I don't feel good about this. It makes me feel guilty as a mom. Talk about mom shame, mom guilt. But that doesn't change the fact that these thoughts and feelings and worries are here, and those are real, and so they need to be dealt with. So I purge them onto index cards. Or again, you can get my printable on Etsy. So next, what's the next thing we do? We organize. And when you're doing this process with index cards, this is very easy to do. You read each card, and you don't judge them, but you do start thinking critically at this step. You sort the cards into 2 piles. What do I have control over? What can I control? What can I affect? And what is completely out of my control? So the first one, I don't know if I can handle him living at home without respite anymore. 15 years without a break is too much. Can I control that? Well, I can make the decision. I can think about all of the constraints that I have and make a decision based on that. I can know that. That's different than feeling. So I'm going to put that under what I can control. And we're going to say can control here. You know what? Let's do this for ourselves. Let's make this really easy. In my control. Out of my control. There we go. That way we don't have to remember. It's very important to make this process as easy on yourself as possible, because again, when you're going through this POP process, you are usually, or at least I am usually, in a state of overwhelmed. There is so much cluttering and bouncing around in my head that I'm just feeling. I'm not really thinking at that time. So let's make this easy. These are in my control. These are out of my control. Next card. I'm stressed out about housing and care for Mark after he turns 18 years old. Well, I don't get to control my emotions. Emotions are knee-jerk. They're instinctive. They are natural. They're part of being human. I can't control those. What I can control is my feeling. I can control whether I'm feeling stressed out or not. So I'm going to put that here too. It's one more thing to do that just adds to an already exhausting list of chores and stressors. Do I get to control that? Yeah, I get to choose if I take it on or not. So yeah, that's absolutely in my control. I feel like it all falls on me. Again, that's a feeling, so I can change that. I don't know where to begin or how to look for housing options. I don't know. Okay, so theoretically, there is some education or some learning or maybe some research that I could do. So that is in my control as well. I'm feeling pressure to do it quickly and make a decision by the state and Mark school. Feeling, again, I get to choose. They can try to put the pressure on me, but they don't have the right to dictate how I feel or how I respond or react. So I'm going to put that there too. I feel like I don't have time to find, search for housing options. Okay, again, there's a feel. I can control that. I don't know what the right decision is. Okay, I don't know right now what the right decision is because I haven't researched anything. But I can change that because I can change what I know. Okay, now this is telling. There's nothing here. When I did this originally, I had the exact same thing happen. Everything ended up here. Nothing was here. But what I did think about was what could have been another card. And you know what? I'm going to fill that out right now. What is out of my control? Mark's special needs. I have absolutely no control over that. I can't control his disabilities. I can't change them. I can't even really affect them. But what I can do is change my response and how I help him and what I do. Ooh, I'm getting goosebumps. And just admitting that this is out of my control puts me in a place of power. Because when obviously, I want Mark to have good health and I want him to be the very best and have the most independent life possible. But his special needs dictate a lot of that, what he can and cannot do, and how much support he needs. But letting go of the fact that I wish things were different gives me more energy back to deal with the things that I can control and that I can affect. So after I've done this part, if there was one thing that's out of my control, which is Mark's special needs. So I'm going to stop thinking about that, at least at this point. And here's the other beauty of doing this process with index cards. I literally rip them up. Very cathartic, very therapeutic. And I get rid of them and I recycle them. Because you know what? If you can't control it, it's not worth wasting your time and energy thinking about it. So then I go to the things that are in my control and I focus on, now that we've purged, we've written everything down, all our thoughts, our worries, our fears. Then I've organized them into two piles, what's in my control, what's out of my control. Now we're moving on to the third step in the process, which stands for process. How can I specifically address what is in my control? I have said that I can do something about these. I have said that I can affect these. So I need to start thinking about, okay, processing. What can I do to make these worries, fears, feelings better or more manageable? I don't know what the right decision is, and I literally would write it on there, and you're going to see what I wrote. Again, no judging my handwriting, please. Because I haven't explored everything yet, but I can figure it out. So in other words, it's giving myself grace. It's giving myself space, that it's okay that I don't know what the right decision is yet. How can I know what the right decision is if I haven't even explored all the options? I feel like I don't have time to search for housing options. What I write. I can create a reasonable schedule and stick to it. And that's what I did. I decided that yes, this is important. Yes, it deserves time and effort and energy. I'm going to give it 1 hour each week. I started scheduling an hour. And so that way that hour wasn't taking away from something else. And I could time box it. And I created it for only 1 hour because I knew it was going to be overwhelming. And it is emotional. So that's really helped. I actually wrote that, I processed, I thought about it, and I've been doing it, and it is helping. I feel pressure to do it quickly and make a decision by the state and Mark's school. They can ask, they can push, but they're not making the decision. Therefore, I decide the timeline. Essentially, I pushed back inside my own head. I was feeling the pressure from all those different places. And the feeling and the pressure absolutely was real. But just because they apply the pressure does not create an emergency for me. I can push back and I can take the time I need to make a careful and intentional decision. And you can only make an intentional, careful decision if you take the time to do the research too. Now, obviously, I wasn't able to think all that in the moment. When I was, feeling the pressure and feeling frustrated and feeling overwhelmed, I'm just writing it down. This POP process gives me the time to actually press pause and think through things logically. And it can do the same for you too. Next, I don't know where to begin or how to look for housing options. I can start searching online and ask DDA for suggestions. First of all, yeah, the internet's big, but if I set aside that hour each week and just do a little bit of research, then it doesn't feel so overwhelming or all-encompassing. Also, Mark's social worker ain't the only person at DDA. I can reach out to them. I feel like it all falls on me. I can ask for Jason's help and input. I can refuse to do this alone. Again, I feel like it all falls on me. Yeah, it does feel like that sometimes, but it doesn't have to actually be that way. And if I change that, that feeling will be affected too. And so I've started asking for Jason's help and more of his input. It doesn't have to be my responsibility alone. It's one more thing to do that just adds to an already exhausting list of chores and stressors. I can clear other things off my plate to make room. Absolutely. So guess what? I feel like I haven't been exploiting Mark's help as much as I could be. The kid is desperate to feel useful and needed, and he's constantly asking, can I help? Can I help? Can I help? So while he can't do it to the same level that I would, he currently has started feeding our cats. He has started sweeping the kitchen for us. Two small things for me. And again, he doesn't do the greatest job, but he does the job as well as he can. It's huge for his self-esteem. And if there's a night that I just want to let it go, I can let it go. So that clears things off my plate. And again, I am ready to start trying new things, see what else the boy can do. I'm stressed out about housing care for Mark after he turns 18. We don't have to move him out at 18. More time might help all of us. I don't want to make the same mistake as my old neighbor did, but I'm not pushing 80 yet. And so I have time. I can take the pressure off. I can press pause, and then we can slowly make progress towards moving him to what is hopefully the best place for him, the best scenario for him. And that gives me more time to do research and to feel better about the decision rather than feeling rushed. Ooh, last one. I don't know if I can handle him living at home without respite anymore. 15 years without a break is too much. And this is absolutely true. The only respite I have had in the last 15 years is when Mark's at school. And sometimes that doesn't even happen because I can't tell you the number of times I've had frantic phone calls because of Mark is medically fragile in a lot of ways. And so the school, God bless them. I don't blame them. Out of profound and immense amounts of caution have called me, sometimes when it was necessitated, sometimes when it's not. I'll never forget the time I got a call. They were going to call an ambulance because he had fallen down a flight of stairs. I knew that I would have to pay for that ambulance, and I asked them over the phone what was going on, what was wrong, and they said his knee was scraped up. And I'm like, well, my God, why are you calling an ambulance? I said, don't call anybody. I'll be there in 5 minutes. I was really 20 minutes away. But I got there in about 15 minutes. And he had a scraped knee. And yes, he was having difficulty walking. I pulled his wheelchair out. And sometimes he can walk, sometimes he can't. I'll put it that way. We have a wheelchair that we use when we go on family trips because he can't do a whole lot of walking without breaks. Anyway, put him in a wheelchair, took him to urgent care. It was a scraped knee. But I later found out they were overly cautious because Mark didn't fall down a flight of stairs. He had been pushed down a flight of stairs because there was no supervision. So, I've had instances like that just throughout the years where I might have been in the middle of working or getting housework or just having a little bit of time to myself in the middle of the day while he was at school, only to have it interrupted by an emergency. And so 15 years of living like that has taken a toll. So this is a very real concern and worry that I have. This is my fault and my opportunity. I can use waiver funds. Now, I don't have family to help with Mark. They feel that his special needs are beyond their capacity and ability. And frankly, I'd rather them be honest because I don't want anyone caring for Mark who is not willing or capable to do that. The state does offer waiver funds that you can use to either have someone come into your home or send your child to a different place to be cared for in order to give the caregivers respite. I have not done this. One, out of fear and concern. I want Mark, his safety is paramount to me. And I felt guilty. But now that Mark is older and can communicate more, it might be a really good opportunity to use those funds to send him to do activities, maybe with peers, opportunities that wouldn't have been appropriate when he was younger. So not only is this my fault for not taking advantage, but it's my opportunity now to take advantage of those waiver funds to create a better day-to-day life for all of us and give myself some of the respite I so desperately need. So there you have it. That is the pop journaling process done with index cards. And again, the other thing I love about this process, it can be completely private. It's not about keeping the cards. You can if you want to. It might be helpful to go through and review some of the different ideas that you might have written down during the process, the third step in the process. Coming up with ideas for how to affect the things you can control. But for me, it's not about keeping them. It's about the process of getting everything out of your head and onto paper in a systematic way to help you take back control over your own thoughts and to stop ruminating and to get out of that echo chamber inside your head and get onto a path of process and hopefully peace. So, if you've watched to the end of this video, thank you so much. If you like this kind of content, please give me a quick like. And if you're not subscribed, please consider joining our community here on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.